We'll start over. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creatives Ignite. It used to be called Design Recharge. For all the other 3 times that Scott Biersack has been on, it has been called Design Recharge. But we changed it in, I don't know, I guess this year was the first official year of it. And I'm just excited, Scott. You have always been one of my favorite people to interview. You're a lifetime learner. So we were doing some talking about when he was on before. So in 2015, I believe you might have still been in school as an undergrad.
Yeah, I
in
graduated
Arizona.
in 2015. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you had,
busy.
inside of school, you had worked for Disney.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's
I was
super
I
impressive.
was an intern. I was doing work
Doesn't matter.
at an internship. But yes, I touched Disney stuff.
Yeah. And not just, on the shelf or something. So, but there were things that you were doing, right? So you've also done work for Stranger. So Brian Alexis says he's showing this to his packaging class, right? You did some work for Stranger.
Yeah, I
What is wrong?
worked there for a short time as well.
But they do a lot of packaging, and
Yeah.
typography for a long time has been one of your loves. When you were in
Yes.
school for years, this is in Arizona, people, so it's hot. It's in Phoenix, a little bit cooler, but for real, not as cool as it could be in other places, right? But one of the things that was impressive to me is, Scott, they had this big, what was the feet size of that chalkboard that you would go and draw on every week?
Gosh, I don't even remember it anymore. It's got to be at least like 23 feet, I think, 25 feet long. And it was like maybe 6 feet tall or 7 feet tall. So it's pretty big.
So you would go and you would do a lettering. You would have a message and draw with chalk every Saturday, or I don't know what day it was.
Yeah, it was usually the weekends because that's when I had time to kind of take a break from the schoolwork, and nobody was around because all the kids were, sleeping from the night before, partying and everything. So it was my time to just like have some solitude at that wall.
And so if you want to search for any of those old episodes, if you just go to creativesignite.com and scroll down to the bottom and it says search, you can search for Scott Biersack and you can watch those. And we have talked about that. You have a very inspiring story. There's some, I think, Vimeos or YouTubes that if you search, you tell your story, and it is so inspiring. So now we've known each other a long time. So 2015 is when you were on now, and now it's 2023. And so Scott just said, can I tell him how old you are now?
Yeah, go ahead.
He said, I just turned 30 and I did this so long ago. So to me, it's like, wow. And I mean, Scott's super taller than me, but who isn't really? But he's always somebody who's just so easy to talk to and very, just puts his pants on like everybody else, but he's had some amazing things he's done. So as a lifelong learner, just give him a little bit about, I've given a little bit of the stuff you've done. You've done packaging, you've done murals, you've done a lot of really heavy focus type stuff, but tell him a little bit. If somebody didn't know who Scott Biersack was, how would you describe yourself?
Yeah, that's a great question, because more so recently it's been, me exploring a lot of different creative avenues. So I don't know how to tell people like what it is that I do, other than like my typical day to day is I'm a lettering artist, illustrator, designer. I have that as my background, but I've been, I guess, more so in the art realm recently, or just like a creative realm in general, where I tackle all kinds of things that just entice me. So I've been like calling myself an artist recently, which is more of like a broad blanket term, just because I've been dabbling in so many other things. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it.
When I was describing you in my thing, I actually didn't have typographer first or letterer first. That was like,
yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Because I do think you have, you've expanded, you know, and I think that is really it's a reminder that we don't have to just get stuck on one thing. It's a reminder that we can change our minds and luckily our industry is big enough that there's a lot of things for us to explore. And
Right.
I think that you have I think it's a great story for that, being able to. So the last time we talked was in 2018 and you were about to leave for type at Cooper Paris, maybe?
Type Paris. It's just type Paris, yeah.
You're like, no, Diane. Anyway, but you had already done a Cooper a union. You'd gone to New York.
Right.
You'd studied there. And you've made lots of things with type. But when you showed me the images that I asked you to give me some images, and you told me, or you gave me a lot of illustration. And not that you hadn't illustrated before, but it was mostly typographic illustration. You were pushing the typography of it. And so now to see your work now, was that a big switch when you went from and started illustrating more?
Thankfully not so much, just because of my sort of upbringing in elementary school. Like I always took art class, from like kindergarten up until I graduated high school. Art was like the foundation of my design career. So it was kind of nice to just fall back on what I knew in terms of like art and painting and, all the different avenues of creativity there. So it just feels good to like take a step back from, quote unquote design and come back to the art side of things. And it all just connects at some point, one way or another. So even though like you're saying, like a majority of my work might be type or illustration focused, I try to take those things and expand upon them in other avenues of creativity. So even though this thing over here might not be like directly related to typography, the nuance of like maybe something as simple as spacing that I learned in the Type Cooper program or Type Paris program, I still have that sort of muscle memory almost, and then I can apply that to this other thing that I'm doing over here. And so it all, like I said, it all just connects one way or another. And so it's been nice to explore all these other avenues of creativity, and even though they're not, correlated whatsoever, they all connect in some fashion.
Absolutely. So was it a really relief, I guess, when you started? I know that I've talked to other typography focused designers or illustrators, and there's been when someone asked them to illustrate something in with it, in the beginning there was like, oh, I don't, I do lettering, or
Right.
there was an uncomfortable period for them, because yes, they may have drawn as a kid, but they weren't drawing, nobody was paying them to do that.
Yeah.
And so,
Right.
so there was a little bit of a imposter syndrome, or like, oh, I've got to work at this. Was that just, that wasn't something you dealt with, or was that ever part of because you were illustrating enough, like you were practicing enough on your own, maybe?
Right. I was doing it on my own here and there. Yeah, it's definitely validating when a client wants you to pay you for the work that you're doing. But I don't know. I always was illustrating, and so my mindset of drawing letter forms, even something as simple as the definition of lettering is drawn letter forms, essentially. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, it is very beneficial to hone your illustration skills and lettering skills simultaneously, because the work just kind of goes hand in hand. Illustration and lettering. I consider lettering illustration sometimes too, because a majority of the time, if a client reaches out to me, they actually need an illustration first and the typography second. So it's not like they're coming to me specifically for a logo type and they need some additional sort of ancillary assets. It's more so they need at least more recently, the work that I've been doing has been like, we need a big poster, and then if you can draw the type too to make a custom for this poster, then that's great. So like I said, I think the illustration is actually first and foremost and lettering is second. So if they can, of course, jive with one another, then the piece is going to be, that much better because you have the understanding of what makes a good illustration. And then the type is you're just adding some type to it, like making the type match the vibe of the illustration that you're drawing. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah,
or
no, that totally. So I think that's a really good point. So people, you weren't, and you have multiple styles, or you've gone through multiple styles as I've seen you. But I think that it's, you don't just fit into one bucket super easy, but it is really helpful for clients, because then they can be like, hey, we know you show up. We know you do great work. Can you do this? And you're like, yeah, I can try, or yeah, I've been playing with this. Or do some people just kind of give you carte blanche and say, hey, we just really love this. Do they ask you to stylistically match things, or do they just like what you're currently doing, or just trust you to be like, create whatever you want?
Yeah, it's definitely a mixture. Some clients definitely come with some sort of an idea. A lot of the clients that I'm working with have either an in-house design team or some sort of design team in the vicinity. So it's not like I'm just working directly with like somebody that has no idea, what quote unquote design is. So that definitely makes my job so much easier, because I can give them an AI file and they can pick it apart and do whatever they need to do. Sorry, what was the question again?
Remind me. I have ADHD. I don't know. You have to keep up.
I totally just lost my train of thought.
I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was just, clients giving me free rein and stuff? Yeah, do you get free rein, or do they say, hey, you did this one thing, or do they see something that you've done on the side, like a Scott project? Yeah, so
sometimes it is that way. Sometimes they see something that I've already done and they like the overall style for that thing, and they'll say, hey, we want, some stickers or something in that same style. But honestly, a majority of the time, a client comes to me and they say like, hey, we have this project where, let's say they have a general idea of like, okay, we're gonna brand an event, and it's up to you to, art direct or creative direct or whatever, this event. And so that's kind of where I get to come in and build that sort of like overall look from the ground up. And that's why I really love doing stuff like that, because they do put a lot of trust in me to, create that overall style that is being proposed. And so that's why I get the opportunity to work and draw these wild things that I wouldn't normally get to, is because I'm the one thankfully being able to propose these ideas and say like, hey, I think this is cool. Do you think it's cool? And the client, thankfully, sometimes is like, yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. And so I'm very lucky to be able to, have clients trust me in that sense.
So and this wasn't on the sheet. I mean, Lord knows we haven't even started on the sheet. But so one of the things that you sent me was this mural that you had done. And in all the chalkboard work you had done from years ago, had you been wanting to, or have you been doing murals the whole time and I just didn't know about it? You weren't like posting about it?
No.
So did you want to get back into doing something larger? And did you physically do it? Did you just design? Oh, you went and painted it. So was there something like going back to when you were in undergrad or something? I don't know. Was there this nostalgia for you in?
Yeah, absolutely. With that project in particular, I was hit up out of the blue from DoorDash, and they needed some artwork for the walls of their new headquarters. And so thankfully I was even considered in the first place, because if you look at my portfolio, I have no mural work in there whatsoever. And so it's crazy that I was even offered the job, but I do have mural work. I have painted a number of murals, and then of course the chalkboard stuff. Like I've worked large scale a number of times. I just don't get that work too often because people don't see that type of work in my portfolio. So, it was really, really nice to be able to, take a step back from the screen and work physically on this massive wall and paint it. And me and my friend Nicole, she's an actual legit muralist, so I had her come in and help me. Like I wanted to make sure it was done correctly, and the client loved it at the end of the day. And so her guidance definitely helped, because it's been so long since I have painted a mural. But yeah, it was a great time. I want to do more of that stuff. It's just few and far between, just because, again, my portfolio doesn't have, that much mural work in it for people to see. So they don't know that I'm capable of doing it. So
yeah, I think that's great. And that again, sometimes we have to create some things on our own to be able to start getting that work. But the more you get, but because you did so many of those when you were in your early 20s, by doing those every Saturday, you got experience of working in that big scale, designing for that big scale. We do have lots of Jason Carnes here. We have lots of other people. I really appreciate you guys being here. And I told Scott that I might get teary because anyway, but I just really appreciate you guys being here. Okay, so this is the fourth time you've been on the show. So let's just take it from 2018. You were about to go to Type Paris. So you're continuing to learn. You're not, if you watched Scott, I think it's Vimeo. There was a time where your family you were living in your car. You're not just like this super wealthy, from a rich family, this summer I'll spend in Paris, wasn't where you were coming from. So you're working and you're learning. You're just putting your extra funds into your brain, I guess, right? Like you're
very true.
Teaching. Yes. And so one of the things we talked about last week when me and you met was just this love for this learning and this continual learning. And I think I'm definitely a continual learner as well. But so from 2018, you were about to go to Type Paris, which you'd already studied at Cooper Union. So what was the pull to go and study in Paris? And then what have you been learning since, and how has your business changed from 2018 to today?
All right. So great question with Paris, especially. I mean, those are two huge questions because they both are going to be some massive answers. But anyway, I'll start with Paris. The big push for me was, I had this understanding of type and lettering and stuff, but I wanted more. And I know that I'm very successful in a school environment. If I have somebody relying on me, if they say, Scott, you have homework due on this day, I'm going to get it done no matter what, because I work really well under those sort of guidelines, I guess. And of course, just the camaraderie. Like, I really loved the camaraderie involved at the Type of Cooper program, and everyone's there just like hyped on type all the time. And like just being around people that...
Was that their tagline? Hyped on type?
No, that just came out of my mouth just now.
That's a good one.
But I was equally high on type, and so it was so nice to be around people that just truly loved, what they were doing, and they were there because they loved it so much, and so like that kind of feeling or sensation was sort of infectious, because how often are you in an environment where people are just like super stoked to be there, and of course they're like doing it in their part-time, essentially, because the way the Cooper program and Paris program are set up is like you essentially still have your job elsewhere and you are kind of making this happen. And so that's kind of one of the main reasons, of course. So the baseline level was like, okay, I really love school. That's a no-brainer. And then I wanted to learn more. Like, I thought, you can learn so many things like regarding type and lettering, but if somebody else has a different methodology as to how to draw a G, for example, well, then I'll go to Paris and learn how to draw a G differently, because the way they're teaching it is going to be completely different than the way the Type of Cooper program's going to be teaching it. And so I learned a shitload there, even though, yes, I did do a year at Type of Cooper. Like, I still learned so much at the Type Paris program. And so I'm so glad I did that. But yeah, I just have this urge to, like you said, like continue to learn. It's hard for me to just kind of do the same thing day in and day out. Like, I just get so bored so easily, and learning is one of those things to easily just like change up my routine and, be stoked and reignite the fires of creativity and enjoy the process along the way. So I don't know. To me, it's a no-brainer. I know it's a difficult thing for most people to do, especially here in America where schooling is very expensive. But like you said, like I just tend to save up my money and put that towards school instead of, I don't take massive vacations or anything. I think the last time I took a vacation was like, I couldn't even tell you when. So I'm spending that money on myself to sort of better myself, but also just like enjoy life along the way, because creativity and being a creative overall is like what kind of sustains me as an individual. And so I try to feed into that. And so the second part of your question, I think, was about like all the things that I'm doing now. Or
so
like
how has your business changed from 2018, right before you were leaving? So I know you were working, maybe the kind of clients that you're getting now, or the types of projects that you are going after now might be different than what you were going after then. I mean, I know it is for me. I'm doing different things.
That is very true. I think honestly, just by happenstance, I've worked with clients that I didn't think it would happen. I'm not like, just to be blatantly honest, like I'm not searching for the work too often, and it's just thankfully, people, I don't know, share my work in their agencies, and my name gets thrown around or something, because I'm not actively emailing people that often. Sometimes I am, but most of the time I'm not, just because I'm already so busy with, what's currently on my plate. And so I think a big impetus as to, what's led me to these bigger jobs or the work that I, have been doing recently has been less about, putting myself out there and more about understanding who I am as an individual and what makes me tick, and the things I love, the things I hate. Understanding myself has been actually the most beneficial thing for my business, because and I'll just be blatantly honest, I've been going to therapy for 4 years now. So right around 2018, I think, is like, or 2019, right, that area, right when we were talking, the last time, like that's when I realized I needed therapy, and going through that and has been a great experience, again, to help me realize like who I am, what are my values, all these things that make me me. And then I take that, bottle it up, and then it becomes an outward sort of projection onto my business by, just by association. Like I'm not really doing anything different other than making different decisions based on the understanding of who I am, if that makes sense. So
yeah, totally.
Something as simple as like knowing what my values are, and then using that to guide, the clients that I take on, or the client relationships that I have. And then intertwined in all of that, I realized that like I was treating my work like work. Like I felt like I was clocking in and clocking out, and I realized like, what the fuck am I? Scott, sorry. I was like, what am I doing right now?
My mom's not here, so it's okay.
Okay.
We'll get back to a G rating next week, people.
Exactly.
This is what a great way to make sure for sure my mom's not. I know. Yeah, I just always had it so that she. I was like, let's not cuss because my mom's here. So, and my mom would always be like, I've heard those words before, Diane, and I'm like, I know, but it allows it to be. Anyways, totally fine.
Yeah.
Feel free. I didn't remind you.
Trying to be as
she was
candid
gone,
as possible.
I'm glad. Please be candid. It's good. Keep going.
Totally lost my train of thought there, but I think what I was trying to say is like along the lines of I was treating work like work. It wasn't fun as much. And I like had this like epiphany of like, why am I trying to sort of portray this persona of like me being like in a suit and tie, like, yes, I will get you that logo right now. When in reality, like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing half the time. I don't know. I just feel like I've just meandered around, and I've happened to fall into this state that I'm in currently. And I'm very thankful and I'm very blessed because of it. But I started to treat my sort of outward projection of myself as like me, this silly sort of like outgoing, colorful, playful sort of vibe that I've got, and I'm trying to imbue that into, my website and my work, and even just like the simple conversations I have with clients. Like I've actually spent more time creating and fostering relationships, whereas before I was just like, again, I was very like hoity-toity about it, and like I realized like, what am I doing? This isn't me. Like, so
yeah, I think
that's kind of the gist.
I think that part of coming into yourself and not having to edit yourself for professional world. I mean, man, people have told me for all my life. I mean, my mom was one of them, but even my colleagues sometimes will be like, "Oh, I can tell them. I can tell that they're looking at me like, I don't believe you should have said that out loud, Diane." You know?
Yeah.
And I'm not cussing or anything. I'm just using weird analogies.
Right.
Usually have something to do with a bra. Usually, my students are okay with it because they're like not fazed by anything anymore. But I think it is really, that's something. And you started so young and earlier than normal. You know, like most people might be 23 when they're starting or 22. But you were designing and working at a really good internship agency, right? It was an agency and you were doing intern, and they had big clients. And I just think that maybe that was that pressure of, you've got to up your game. You've got to act. You can't act like you're 19, buddy, you know? And so you were hoity-toity Scott trying to just make people trust you. But I think that what made people trust you was all those Saturdays of doing these, you know, and even you did a 365 project. I remember us talking about that probably in 2015. You're like, I missed some deadlines for school because I didn't want to not do my lettering project that I said I was going to do on Instagram, you know? And I just think, I think that is it's really helpful to not feel like you're having to edit, because it's so much pressure to have to be like, who do I have to be here? And it's just like, maybe everybody won't like me, right? But this is how I am going to be, because it's more work to have to pressure, you know, like be that certain way with this client. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, because I was definitely putting on that sort of persona when I like clock into work, so to speak, where I'd be like, you know, sending an email and I'd say like, hello, so-and-so, hope this email finds you well, blah, 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 you know. And like in reality now I'm like, what's up, dude? How the hell are you? Here's your logo. Hope you know, I am very unprofessional now, I guess, but in the best way possible. Like I think it's more of like, we're all human at the end of the day, and we're all just creating and having a good time together. So like, why the hell should we be so, I don't know, stuck up about it? Or I don't know what the phrase is.
So I guess I don't think of that as professional or not professional. I understand what you're saying. It was that mode, but I think it is, because I feel like you're professional, even if you're wearing a t-shirt but here's what makes you professional, or a professional, is that you're detail oriented, that you care about what the client, you're listening to the client, that you show up when you're going to show up. That is professional, that you're trying to serve them. Maybe that's not even something that even people who are super professional, they show up, but they're serving themselves more. So to me, it's like, can you do the job? Can you work hard to figure it out and tell me, be honest with the client about where you are and where you're struggling with, or what, you know. It's like, I feel like they're humans too. You know, we just need to, I mean, I've had clients for 20 years, and so you can't fake it for 20 years, you know? For
sure. And that's very true. You make a good point. I am very professional in that sense. So I should
I totally think of
myself
you as
on the back for that.
Yes, I think of you as being professional. I've never had it where you didn't show up when we were supposed to meet, or, I mean, like, you are dependable. That's professional. It's the button wearing, nerdy guy that Jason Carn was saying, you know, that's I guess anyway, I don't want to get off on that. So from last time to now, you put your extra money. I'm like you, I don't really take vacations either, but I think like going to Creative South is like vacation to me, even though I'm working my butt off. Like, that's really fun. My husband's like, this would not be fun to me. And I was like, oh, it's really fun to me. You can stay home. So I get this. So has there been, maybe this is just going into therapy. The last time I talked, he also was on this weird, and it was a weird celery diet. And I was like, when I met with him last week or whatever, I was like, are you still drinking celery? Because he was like, oh my gosh, this thing has changed my life, Diane. I drink celery every day. And he was like juicing, like, I mean, he needed a celery garden. It was so much, but it really changed your body. You were like, I'm so much healthier. And so you did answer that question about the celery, that you are still.
I am still drinking. So I literally had some this morning. Celery juice. We don't have to get off on a tangent here. We can keep it, solely design oriented still. But I will say, celery juice is like really good for your digestion. That's all I'm going to say. So,
it's been good for you.
Yes, when we were talking back in 2018 or something, I was going through some health stuff, and it was like scary shit, right? And I thought I was going to die. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. And that's what ultimately led me to go to therapy. And celery juice was like this like thing that at least helped in the process. Like, I don't think it was the end all be all and cured me by any means. But celery juice is one of the things that I was doing that Diane thought was just like insane.
I just don't like celery.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm not saying I love drinking celery because it sucks.
But it was like a big glass. You're like, Diane, I'm drinking this and this is totally changed. And I think it just gave you energy. It gave you something that you were...
it gave me something I was lacking at the time, and it made me feel like I was like doing something for my body. And, it was that was just one of the many things, of course.
Right. You were trying lots of things.
I was doing so many other things, but yeah, celery juice is like the one thing that stuck with Diane.
Right. I guess because I don't really like celery, but I think I tried it one day and I was like, buddy, I mean, it would be like drinking like olive oil or something. Like, I'm not sure I could do this,
It sucks. It's an acquired taste. But after all these years, I still hate it.
But now you don't drink it every day. You drink it like every other day or
every other day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to, we do get off track, but hey, let's just be us. And I'd rather, because I think that was like, I was like, well, what else is going on? And he's like, oh my gosh, I started drinking celery juice and everything has changed. Celery. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, I tried it. I was like, I don't know how he's able to do this. But I did, and I remembered. And I love you for that you are. Okay, so biggest hurdle in this amount of time, and it doesn't have to just be business related, but what was the biggest hurdle you faced from 2018 to 2023?
I mean, just because of COVID, that was definitely probably the hardest time.
Why?
Right when COVID started.
Why was that hard?
Like any creative out there, any freelancer especially, and even those working at studios and agencies getting let go and stuff because nobody knew what the hell was going on. And work essentially kind of just, froze up for at least like 5 to 6 months. If I had a job, it was like, a single job here and there. It was like barely enough to essentially get by. And so I was like, I'm going to have to like go get another job. Like I'm going to have to like work for somebody else after I've been freelancing for who knows how long at this point. And so that was a little daunting to me because, I have a really difficult time having people tell me what to do, to be honest. Or at least somebody higher up just kind of like, art directing me and all that stuff. It's just it's different than freelancing, of course. But anyway, so I ended up getting 2 PPP loans that thankfully kept me afloat. And, I got a couple jobs here and there, but that was definitely the hardest time because that caused me to sort of reevaluate, like it did for probably everybody, reevaluate my life and what it is I'm doing and what it is that I enjoy doing and, why I'm here on this earth, what's my purpose, all this, just a lot of therapy there too, trying to comprehend everything that was happening.
I do think I remember you telling me you were going to therapy then because I think you said you were doing the, you dialed in the therapy. Was that right?
Yeah. I was using a service called BetterHelp and it was a good like intro into therapy, but I personally would not recommend it to folks. But
But now
That's for another day.
Another talk. But I think that what I like is that you were researching and you were trying different things. And
exactly
for somebody who needs something, maybe online is all they can do right now. And I think in COVID, that was what everybody was having to do. I know
true.
that I have never met my psychiatrist, the guy who gives me my ADHD medicine, in person. He's in Mobile, but we just meet on Zoom, and it costs a little bit more, but then I don't have to drive all that way down there, and it's just the time that I'm saving anyway.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah,
I appreciate because anyway, I appreciate. Okay, so what about the biggest creative challenge that you've had? Was it maybe a job, or maybe it was in this kind of questioning when you were not having a lot of work? How were you being creative? Did you have kind of a epiphany in some of those areas, or?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, it gave me a lot of time to work on that I wanted to work on, stuff that I've been putting off myself. Just something as simple as like redoing my website. So right around that time is kind of when I had this epiphany moment of like, putting forward my best self, who I am as an individual, like my truest self. And so that's probably right around the time that I started at least the process of, something as simple as journaling all that stuff out so I can try to understand, who I am and how to present that to clients. And so the biggest creative hurdle was probably that, trying to do a lot of like inner work to, figure out what that is, and then sort of like launch this quote unquote rebrand of myself. And I don't want to call it that whatsoever. It was more just me turning off this like fake persona of like being very quote unquote professional and turning on this is me, So just like figuring that out was probably the hardest part, but it also came very naturally once I came to this conclusion of like, oh, I need to do this. It was like, yeah, of course I do.
Right.
It was a no-brainer.
Right. That's good.
It took me some time to get there. So, but I'm glad I arrived at the destination. So
yes. And you'll always reevaluate. I think there will always come times when we don't have as good of a work life. One of the things that we talked about last week when we met was what you're learning now. And I know it's not on the sheet, but that is something. So you've gone lots of type in the past, but tell them what you're learning now.
Yeah. So 2 years ago, this is also during the middle of COVID, I believe. I like had this other sort of epiphany moment where I like woke up one day and I was like, I really want to make music. And up until this point, I've had zero education in music. So I know no music theory. I didn't play any instruments or anything. And so of course, the way my brain works, I was like, okay, I got to go back to school. And so a week or two went by. I was like mulling it over, but 2 weeks went by and I signed up for the Berklee College of Music. I signed up for a certificate program. So I just like instantly, I was just like, yeah, I need to do this. But it's like any creative, I feel like, when you have that urge and if you don't make the thing, you're going to go insane. That's what it felt like. I just woke up with this urge to make music and I just thought, okay, I need to figure out how to make music first. Like I want to make my own, songs or an album at some point. I'm well on my way. I still have a lot of learning to do, but I've at least started the process 2 years ago. And so I just finished the certificate, I think about a month ago. So 2 years later, I finished 8 classes. So I've got under my belt, like songwriting, harmony. I took, of course, like 2 or 3 music theory classes. I got my guitars back here. I got a piano in front of me. I've got the mic. So I've got everything. I'm in the process of, still learning and going through all that stuff. But so I finished that. And then in between all that, I wanted to do a stained glass class. So I signed up for stained glass. Before all that, I took a ceramics class and I was getting into ceramics. And then I also refurbish Game Boys. I buy old Game Boys and then I essentially strip down all the parts and put in a new speaker and a new screen and all this stuff. Like, again, I'm just kind of leaning into the things that I love and the things that bring me joy, and Game Boys and CRT TVs, like old 90s technology. Like I have a CRT TV down here.
I don't even know what CRT means.
Cathode ray tube.
Oh, so an old TV, like a TV I had when I was, so it's big.
Yes.
When I was growing up.
It's one of those beefy boys. Yeah. It's like
we got
hefty...
somebody who wants to come over. We got some.
Yeah.
It's like the honestly, things even Goodwill doesn't even take, right? You're like...
Exactly. So like taking all that stuff and, again, like stained glass, Game Boys, ceramics, CRT TVs, all this is kind of all over the place, but it all connects in some way if I'm willing to connect it, I think. And like one of those things being like, I'll display my work on the CRT TV and then I'll take a photo of it. So I get like the vintage, authentic sort of like the texture and the noise and all the grain that produces.
Yeah.
So, it's just trying to figure out how these things intertwine. And like with stained glass, I use my type and illustration skills to create the stained glass. And with ceramics, same thing. You can use that to create patterns and glazes and stuff on ceramics. So like, it's all connected and it's all feeding my soul. And I just keep signing up for classes. And I'm right now I'm in a break. I just finished my ceramics class, or not ceramics, stained glass. I finished stained glass. I finished music. So I'm taking a little bit of a break so I can kind of recharge the batteries. And then I'm going to sign up for more.
All right. So then so it sounds very kind of regimented. You do work well with structure and having some deadlines and having somebody kind of pushing you. So the Berkeley thing that's not in Phoenix though, right? Is that online?
No, that's all. Yeah, it's all online. The Berklee College of Music is located in Boston. I did not want to move to Boston, so I decided to do it online.
So then, but they didn't say you have to take 3 classes a semester or something.
No, thankfully, the way that their program's structured, I just was able to kind of come and go as I please in a way, as long as I'm talking to, a counselor, academic person there that kind of understands, what it is I'm doing. So I essentially took 1 class per order or a term or whatever the division is there. And sometimes I took 2 classes, but when I took 2 is when I realized like I was getting really tired. Because it's hard to do all that, of course, and then do life and freelance and everything else. So that's why it's taken me 2 years to finish this certificate, because I'm having to juggle.
Yeah,
I know. Okay. I wish I could have finished it so much sooner. I wish I could have finished it in like a single year, but
maybe there's something beautiful in the stretching it out and allows your brain to take in things in a different way, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true.
Maybe when you get to be 50, you'll understand that part. We'll just talk back then when we'll just wrap it back, and I'll be 70 and you'll be 30 and it'll be great. Okay. So, so when you are taking this, break, because you're doing life, you're working, running your business, and you're doing this, learning on the side. How do you balance, do you do the learning on a certain night or on the weekend, or do you take some time during the week to do that?
Yeah, the way, again, kind of the way my brain works, or the way I know I'm like operating best, is I also get up at 4:30 in the morning, which is, I know, insane for most people, but my body just wakes up. Like I don't set an alarm.
What time do you go to bed?
Explain it. Oh, I go to bed at 9. I'm an old man. I go to bed, sometimes it's 8:30, honestly.
I know, me too. Sometimes 8:30. I'm like, John, I'm so tired. I got to go to bed. Yeah. It's like, it's 8:30. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
I am wiped out.
Like, yeah. I'm like, it's 8:30. I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. Like, I kind of listen to my body, right? Like, so if I'm tired at 8:30, I go to bed. I'm not trying to sort of like force myself to stay up. And so getting up at 4:30, I don't know if it's like with dudes, testosterone's like peak at right when you wake up, right in the morning. And so I don't know if it's the testosterone flowing or whatever it is, but I'm very like energetic, and things are flowing in the morning. So that's when I do my work. I am very just like alert and active. And so I do, my
Client
work
work.
from, that's a mixture of like doing my homework when I was in school and doing client work.
Okay.
But then I'll do like a
Creative
normal
work.
day. So yeah, I'll call it creative
You're not doing
work.
emails. You're not doing admin.
No,
You're
yeah.
doing
Right.
that stuff later. Okay.
Creative work is like from 4:30 to at least 1:30 or 2, and then I'll do my like admin stuff probably 2 to 3, and I usually end my day around like 3:30 or 4 because I'm starting my day so early at 4. Yeah, that's kind of the schedule, and like I just chip away at things like a little by little every day rather than like sitting down and working on a big chunk for a while. I'll like do a little bit of this project, and then I'll jump to this project, and then I'll jump to my homework, and then I'll jump to this. And so doing a little bit each day allows me to feel like I'm chipping away at everything simultaneously, and it doesn't feel as daunting when the deadlines, come, and I'm like, oh, I gotta, I've got this thing due. Like, cause I don't operate very well under the pressure of like, okay, the deadline's tomorrow. I'm stressing, so if you can sort of like take the time to understand, okay, if the deadline's here, then I need to, work backwards from that and chip away at it each day. And so when the deadline arrives, like I already have had it done for like 3 or 4 days. I'm just sitting on it so the client thinks that I'm working on it the whole time.
Right. Well, and it also gives you time to, if you're working on something until the moment, there's going to be a mistake. But if you give yourself like 24 hours to not look at it, or 48 hours, then you can find, oh, I misspelled that word, or that kernings needs to be a little tighter or something. So I think but again, that's how you're professional. You don't have to wear a button-up shirt to be a professional. But that is also really hard. It's really hard for a lot of people who are running their own business to be able to forecast how far something's going to take. We tend to, if we work for someone else, they kind of they're doing the forecasting for us. We need this. These are those deadlines that come in from the creative director. But when you're doing that on your own, you have just been able to do that. How were you able to learn that so early?
I'd like to say I learned it the hard way, because of course, like I didn't really like have this process figured out. I think over time it naturally dawned on me of like, oh, I work really well at this time. Oh, I don't do well after this time. And so I kind of, again, it's a lot of soul searching. You have to work with what works well for you. And so like my process is not going to make sense for almost literally everybody else out there.
Right. Jason Karn said he could not get up at 4:30 if his life depended on it.
And that's okay. Like some people, like my girlfriend stays up significantly later than I do, but I just can't operate that way. And so you just kind of have to, there's a give and take there, and you have to work with what works for you. And that's kind of what I've been doing, is just leaning into that. And again, to circle back to therapy and everything, I wouldn't know this stuff or like have the tools per se to like go digging for it, to understand it, had it not been for therapy. So the moral of the story is go to therapy and find, like, figure out, what works for you, and like figure out who you are as an individual, because it ultimately has impacted every facet of my life, of course. And so it's been incredibly beneficial.
So when you're doing honest learning, this is fun, but it's still learning. There's still struggles and frustrations when you're learning something new. So one of the things when I last summer, I really dealt with, like, I'm a professional. I should be able to draw this better. Or I was feeling a little like, I can't even say I'm this, because then people will be like, well, I'm never sending my kid to that school because that's what those people are, like you're in ceramics and people are like, oh, you make art for a living? And you're like, but not ceramics. I don't make ceramics for a living, right?
Right.
So did you have to deal with any of that? Or do you have to deal with any of that when you're in the visual arts?
You mean like kind of
it's a mindset thing, I think.
Yeah, is it like more so worrying about what other people think? Is that kind of what you're asking? Yeah, I mean, I get that all the time. Like people are like, you're going back to school again? And I'm like, yeah, of course I am. Like, what do you expect? That's just who I am. So yeah, it's like part of the game. I'm not surprised that people can, act or think that way or say things like that. But I don't know. Obviously it's easier said than done, but I don't give it any time or attention because I know that it makes me happy, and I know that I'm super stoked doing these things. And if somebody over here is like, oh my God, you're going back to school and you're learning this and you're sharing about this on Instagram, I'm like, well, who gives a shit? I don't know. Like I'm super stoked about it, and I'm happy doing the process. And that's all that matters at the end of the day, because I have to, like, again, creatively sort of fulfill myself. And if I can't do that, like, why should I be worrying about John Smith over here when I need to be worrying about myself? So
my husband's bothering
his
you?
name's John Smith.
His name's John Smith. I know, it's really sad. But he's like, I'm the original. And I'm like, I don't think you're I was like, I could be Pocahontas and you can be yourself. But anyway, so in this break time, that is really his last name. In this break time, I know. What do you do? So if you've learned a lot, how, as a creative person, how do you refill that cup? What do you do to refill? Because you said, oh, I'm going to take this break and this time. And how long is this amount of time that you take?
There's no, like, defined time, right? Like, you just know when you know. And
for you, me, how long it is usually?
For me, it might be a couple months, just because I've been going for all this time. And I know that I just, like, get this weird sensation of just, of course it's like the sensation of feeling tired, feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious, all those things that are associated with burnout. And so I don't feel the, like, inherent burnout of, like, yeah, I'm burned out, but I can feel it sort of creeping up, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so when I can feel that sensation, that's when I say, okay, I'm taking a break for a little bit, and I'll set everything down for a sec. And so I kind of felt that coming, especially when I was juggling Berkeley and my stained glass class at the same time, and freelance and life and everything else. So it was too much to do simultaneously. But what I do is, of course, take a break from all the work, and it's easier said than done too, because sometimes the work doesn't stop, especially when it comes to freelance. But I try to lighten my load at least a little bit. Like, if I know I can get by with X amount of money, I'll just, like, say no to a little, like, one or two more projects, just so that I can have some sanity.
Yeah.
I just, again, I've hit burnout stage so many times that I know what works for me, and I know this feeling, and I can't describe it other than I know what it feels like myself. And so I just try to avoid it at all costs. And so
I think that to me is really inspiring, that you are able to notice it, because I think sometimes we just keep going. And for people who have been in the industry for 25 or 30 years, it's like, we don't know any other way. Right. So I am inspired to be like, okay, I got to listen to this. And then maybe I just take less. I don't take on as many things. I'm going to make sure that but sometimes it is because it's been so long. So I love that you do this on a regular basis. You're really listening to yourself. So in that time, what does life look like? Like what?
Like when I'm taking this break?
Mm-hmm. I'm obviously you're not taking classes, but are you still being creative, or do you, what?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'm thankfully taking the time to make things for me. So even when I am doing classes and stuff, obviously I am making stuff sort of for me, but most of the time it's like homework, right? So it's kind of for somebody else. And so I also have that obligation of, like, oh, I need to turn this thing in. And so when I'm making things for me, it's a very different feeling of, like, I'm going to, explore this idea that I've had for a while, or I'm going to draw this phrase that I've been wanting to draw, or I'm just going to go outside and take a walk at 7 a.m. when I don't normally take a walk at 7 a.m. So for me, it's like changing up my routine.
Yes.
I am a creature of habit, and I love routine, but I also thrive when I change up my routine. And so it's kind of like throwing a wrench in things purposefully, because I know that if you're doing things that you wouldn't normally do, you are in an sort of unexpected environment or situation that you wouldn't normally be in, and that promotes growth.
Yeah.
At least for me. And I would assume that would be the case for most everybody, because you're getting outside your comfort zone essentially at the end of the day. And so
Absolutely.
that's kind of what I do. But some people, it's like, oh, I'm going to go work out or go for a bike ride or go to the museum or whatever. Like whatever that thing is, it's going to be different for everybody. But for me, it's just slowing down, enjoying Mother Nature. That's always been the thing for me. Like I love being outside, especially now. I mean, right? We were talking about how hot it is in Phoenix. Right now, it's not too bad. It's like the high is 89, so it's not terrible yet.
Well, it's 83 here, so yeah.
In a month it'll be 115.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it's 89, you have to get outside as much as you can before, because when it's 115, nobody wants to be outside. So we have like a short window of like what our spring is, and our spring is technically summer. So I just try to get out as much as possible.
Okay, so what's one piece of advice? Say you're talking to yourself 8 years ago. So 2000, whenever that was. I don't know why I used the word 8 or why 8 instead of 10, but whatever. Let's just say 8 years ago when we first started talking, I guess, because 2015.
Yeah.
So this is you, 20-year-old you, or in your 20s, I think. I'm pretty sure you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you tell yourself? What's one piece of advice?
I'd probably just tell myself to be patient, because I vividly remember being, that age and looking up to, large designers and lettering artists and creatives, and I thought like, oh, I want to be at that level, and I would try to do everything imaginable to reach that point in a shorter amount of time, right? So I'm trying to put in essentially 10 years worth of work in a year or 2 years, right? And it's just like physically impossible, even though you might be, trying to the best of your ability. It's physically impossible. So my advice is just to be patient with yourself, enjoy of course, the journey along the way, because that's what life is all about, really. And, here I am 30 and I feel like life just flashing by, and it's sad and scary. So I'm trying to just be more present about it all too.
I love that. And drink celery, people. That's how you do it. If you can stomach the smell.
It'll keep you youthful.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with you, which I'm going to put the links in the chat. And also they are at the bottom. So Instagram, you bring fire, all one word. And Twitter, you bring fire. And your website is you bring fire. And I still have your follow my bliss, your bliss.
Follow your bliss? Really?
Yeah, I have that on my wall.
Is it like a yellow print or something?
Yeah, yellow
with...
no, it's a print. I bought a print.
No way.
Yeah, I have it. It's on my wall. Every other design when I'm at school, I have that, and it's right by my light. So I see it every day. Oh. And so I think about you all the time. So I love that piece. And I just have always enjoyed having you on. And my mom is just laughing because you were cussing so much, I'm sure, right now from heaven. I just think it's hilarious. So what a great way to start. But we'll be back to being G-rated next week.
Yes.
But hey, I'm glad that that was a really, we didn't talk about it. I should have warned you, but it was good. It was like, because I usually would say, hey, remember, my mom's going to be there. So I appreciate this funny little joke that I think Jesus said my mom played on me today. So tell us what's next. What could we be looking for? So you're in break time from music. So we should be maybe hearing or seeing music stuff from you?
Not quite yet. I feel like I still need some more classes at Berkeley. There's a couple more that I want to take, but more so like, of course, I'm eyeballing all kinds of other classes. The next thing I want to do is, I think, photography. I want to be able to photograph the work that I'm producing. Like, I'm just shooting it on my iPhone, and I don't know what I'm doing with my iPhone either. So, sorry. It's okay. Sorry, Mom.
It really is. It's such a good it makes it easier for me to laugh about it. I'm and I love you, so I don't care. My husband talks about these things all the time and uses this colorful language. I just don't.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me. But it's just so funny, and it's good. It's just hilarious. If anybody didn't know, my mom died, and so this was like the first episode since she would come every week. So anyway, we miss her.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me on. I appreciate it. You didn't even have to do it this, we could have waited another month or two. So, but I love hanging out with you and catching up and chatting with you. It's been way too long. So thank you.
For sure. And I wanted to get back. So I just hate how I look when I cry. Of course, I can't see because I have the chat and the participants on top of my face, so I can't see. So, Scott could be like this, like cover up the, like when somebody was during COVID, one time I was on a webinar with my sister. My sister was leading this webinar, and this guy, you hear about this, but I was like, people are just making this up. But this guy took us to the bathroom and he had to poop. And I was like, oh gosh, this was not what I wanted to see. Like I didn't see anything, but I saw more than I needed to see. But I was like, well, Vicky, in a way, he was enjoying your webinar so much that he didn't want to miss anything when he went to the bathroom. I was like, you got to look at it that way.
That is true.
But I am just really thankful to be back. It doesn't seem like it. Scott didn't make me cry.
I feel it.
But I appreciate you guys just hanging in and just being patient with me during this. And she was here for so many years. So, would come to the podcast. Because my dad was like, does your boss watch? And I was like, no, he's a painter. He's not really into this. And my dad goes and helps stroke victims and volunteers at the hospital on Wednesdays, so he couldn't watch. And I was like, well, Dad, have you ever watched? And he's like, nope. I'll get your mom to start watching next week. So then he just roped my mom into watching. So, but I think she appreciated it, and she would have appreciated you, as she always did. I'm sure she watched the other ones that you were there. Anyway, I just hate crying. So,
it's
cried
okay. This is a safe space. It's okay.
Scott and I talked about that before. But
it's all good.
Yeah, it's just, I just miss her, and it's okay.
Yeah, of course.
She was funny, and we had lots of funny little jokes that we did, and my sister spoke at the funeral, and I spoke after her because I figured if I needed to be the last one, I wouldn't have to sit if people were like eyeing me badly, so I didn't tell this one story, and I'll tell you this because it's kind of funny. I think it's funny, but not appropriate for a funeral. Anyway, so I'm Diane, my sister's Vicky, and my sister's first, and I'm second. And so my mom would always, and you have siblings, right, Scott?
I have three brothers. Yeah.
So does your mom or dad ever get your names mixed up?
All the time. Yeah, of course.
So what is your name? Like, I know your name's Scott, but what do they really call you?
When they get their names mixed up?
Uh-huh.
Well, my other brothers are Brett, Chris, and Garrett. So they would just intermix our names.
So sometimes my name was Vic Diane, right? So normal, right? But I would give my mom a really hard time. I was like, Mom, I know I'm your favorite, but you've got to stop telling her to die every time you say her name, because she would call her Die Vicky. And I thought that was hilarious. Like, she's telling her to die before. Anyway, I thought it was funny. Clearly, y'all are not thinking this funny. Y'all are like, oh, Diane, you shouldn't have said that out loud. But see, this is where you just have to be you. But my mom would laugh, and she would be like, that's not what I mean. And I was like, I know. But I made it funny because I was like,
Yeah.
It was funny. Wasn't that funny?
No, that's funny.
You're like, I'm laughing on the inside. It's okay. But next week, I will just to make. I said all your links, right? You bring fire, Instagram, Twitter, and which one are you the most active on?
Honestly, both. Instagram has been not ideal lately, so I've been posting on Twitter too. Just random stuff on Twitter, but I'm on both.
All right, well, good. Well, just thank you for making it a safe place for me. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you, Joey, for saying that you laughed out loud. I appreciate that. That's why you're my friend. The weird sense of humors we have. And next week we have Dimmy and back on, and we're going to talk about. He has been on the show before as well, but we're going to really talk about AI and what its role is. And Dimmy really showed me some neat things, and he's using AI in a really neat way to help him populate things. And so for case studies or when you're coming up with pitches for people and you're coming up with all kinds of things, he has figured out ways to use ChatGPT and Midjourney, and he's been doing stuff like this for about 2 years. So he has done really well. So I'm excited to have Dimmy on talking specifically about that. He's got a little presentation for us. So I am actually going to use ChatGPT in my classes next in the fall. We did a little bit this time, so I don't have to populate all the text that's the articles and these things, and students can kind of do that on their own. So I'm excited about using it as a tool. I'm not thinking it's replacing anything. It's just a tool, you know? Yeah. But it's a cool tool. Let's use the tools we got. Anyway, exactly. Thank you guys. I am very appreciative. And Scott, thank you so much for just being my first one back and for just giving us just who you are and just being honest and being willing to talk about therapy and celery and
Let's talk about anything. Yes.
The good and bad.
Thank you.
And just know you are a professional, I think. You don't have to wear a stuffy shirt and be hoity-toity to be professional.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will got to move all the stuff out of my way so I can hit stop. And I'll see you guys next week.